Anyway, hello everyone, and welcome to Pop Corner episode 23.
23 Runo. I don't know. We watched Circle. That's a movie.
You're really gonna start with that?
I don't know. That's what we're doing.
Are we restarting?
We aren't restarting. We're going
Okay,
with
that's
it.
cool. That's cool. Okay, anyway, Pop Corner episode 23. Today, I am still Falling Hurts. I'm Coleman, if you want to call me that. You can call me whatever you like. Call me Ron. I don't really care.
Yo, what's up, Ron?
This is my good friend Draven. That's pretty cool. And much like everything in life is full circle, this is episode 23. I'm 23 years old.
So am I. For like 2 weeks.
Yeah, so way to date this episode, I guess. But anyway, today we have watched the 2015 movie Circle. It was on Netflix, and we were just kind of looking around.
Mm-hmm.
Something fun. So you've seen this movie before.
Like when it came out, like 2015.
So when you were like 5.
Yeah, when I was 5.
Yeah.
So, you know, my basis and knowledge on movie and trivia and stuff was super, super high back then. So, like, my interest in movies were peak cinema.
Right.
So, when I said that I liked it back then, I knew it was going to be a classic banger.
Gotcha.
So.
Gotcha.
And we'll find out if he thinks it was a banger or not.
Yeah. So I was looking to look up some information about the movie beforehand, and I saw this movie had like a 6 out of 10 on IMDb and like
Really?
a 57%. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not getting into specifics just yet, but I will say that feels a little harsh. I thought this movie was really good.
So you think this movie's really good?
I actually do.
Let's. Is that your kind of blanket thoughts?
My like
Anything
general
else?
basis of an idea for the like review of the movie is that it was really good. Honestly, going into it and knowing I've watched it already once, thinking it was good,
Yeah.
especially back then, I was like, "Ooh, this movie might not be that good." Honestly, it surprised me. I mean, it's not like a super scary movie.
No.
Like it's not a horror, really, but it's tense and it's fun to see. Like when you see the characters on the screen, it feels like real people. In my opinion, in certain situations, because you can definitely like you watch it and you're like, oh, this type of person exists in real life. Like, ugh, you know that this person exists in real life. Like, it's a stereotype,
That's fair.
but at the end of the day, the stereotypes exist.
Okay. Well,
What about you?
as a blanket thought, I like this movie.
Okay.
I did. I enjoyed it. There was parts of the movie where I was standing and staring at the TV screen like a 4-year-old. So like standing really close to the screen, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But like, no, I really liked it. I didn't really. I made a point not to talk to you about issues I had with the movie in advance, but I did walk away with some issues of the movie,
I know you did.
and I'm curious to see if you have any. Seeing it so many years later, 30 years later, and
30.
yeah, no. Overall, I really like this movie, and
Peak ending. That's all I'm saying. I love that ending. That's all I'm saying.
I think I do think it's unfortunate that there's not a sequel, but at the same time, no, I'm not. Anyway,
Well, what else can you do with it?
exactly.
Like, yeah, it's gonna be the same premise.
Unless, like I said, unless they went crazier and like it was like they could move, but no one knew they could move.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say it'd be the same premise. It's just like different characters, but at the end of the day, the characters didn't matter. Like they were
Right.
like when you were watching it, you didn't have an idea of who the main character was. You had an idea of like who might be the end goal liver.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, that didn't turn out the way you think it was going to be.
Yeah.
So, like, at the end of the day, there was no main character.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. So okay,
which I like it about that.
I do too. So with that, let's actually jump into the characters. Now, a lot of these characters we don't know their names,
No.
so we can refer to them as they are.
Black guy, sweater guy, pregnant woman,
Gay woman,
gay woman,
cancer survivor,
yeah, you know, they just have
bearded man, one-armed man, boy, kid,
like I said, they're all just stereotypical names, stereotypical characters. for the
husband,
most part.
wife,
Yeah.
the affair ease that there were, the Spanish-speaking man. If you didn't say that, I don't know if you did.
That man, the clutch.
He's clutch.
He clutched up.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed the handling of characters in this movie in the sense that we didn't learn their names in that sense, but they were all stereotypical
Yeah.
in the sense that like there's characters you're supposed to hate, like the bigot guy.
Yeah, you got
and he was pretty early on in the grand scheme of things. It felt like he stayed around for a lot longer than he should have, but that's America for you. You know,
You got your like gang member dude who like beat his wife
and
or
then the
whatever.
cop.
The cop, yeah. Like at first he seemed like a nice dude, and then like
cop.
afterwards he's a douche.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So like
That was pretty
you know,
interesting.
there's a lot of stereotypical stuff in the movie, and you could see that as a bad thing. But like at the end of the day, it really showcases like a general basis on people's thoughts and opinions, and like where it puts them.
I like the wide net of different type of characters that were cast.
And I just love how like there's so many different versions. Like whether you think it's stereotypical or not, it's awesome to see them in a like space where they have to interact. They have to figure out like who they're killing next or whatever. It's you know, and rip all the old people, by the way.
Also, all the characters. What about the like? There's probably like 3 or 4 characters outside of the old people who kind of made it for a while, who hardly said anything. Like the one girl with the, I'm not gonna lie, the kind of bigger teeth. She's like, I didn't even do anything. And then it was her or the one guy that was like being a douche to the not porn star.
And then she ends up dying somehow instead of him.
And then I don't understand that at all. And so like that.
The one dude who didn't talk at all and literally made it to the very end. Yeah.
And that is one thing I really enjoy. I think the best part of this movie is the characters. I think the human, I want to call it the human condition in a way. Like, there's characters that lie. There's characters that are dishonest. There are characters that are
Humble.
overly honest. Yes.
And
like,
then,
yeah, like just every sense of it. Like all of the.
And then you have the like lying backstabbers, like the end goal guy.
Yes,
He was so nice through the whole movie.
And he was basically like a barnacle on the back of the sea turtle that is the pregnant lady. Like he just made it to the end by being there. Like it was really interesting actually seeing how that played out. And I liked the twist with the character. I mean, someone who was that overly nice and that calm in that situation had to have had something figured out that whole time. Honestly, though, I didn't catch it for the longest time until it was towards the end. I was like, this guy is a little suspicious, but...
I didn't catch it the first time. Like I said, I knew how this ended because the ending surprised me in the first time I watched it. And I was just like, my God.
Yeah.
And then he ends up taking the baby, too.
Honestly, though, what I thought was going to happen, somehow, some way, the baby was going to kill him.
Just clutch up.
And then the baby wouldn't be able to do anything. So it's like...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I was just like, okay. Or I was thinking, like, some weird way the aliens were going to, like, revive the mom.
Dude, you thought at the end that they were all just going to wake up and be revived anyway.
Well, I thought that's what it was going to be the whole time, was that, you know, it wasn't that they were killed, it's that they were knocked out, and no one could check them.
Yeah, because they all get dragged away. So
and they were getting dragged away. They're all going to wake up, and they're going to be like, you fucking betrayed me, you piece of shit.
That would have been a cool concept.
And then they
though.
all beat the shit out of the guy at the end. They're like,
dude.
we thought you were going to be the one to let the pregnant lady live. Nope.
Honestly, like...
I think that would have been a better ending.
That would have been a good ending.
That would have been the better
Because the way the ending for it was just like, oh, there's a bunch of ships, and like everyone who's a sole survivor goes together for the big spaceship.
Also, real talk, didn't like the look of the
the ships.
the budgets were so low. I mean, it was just so jarring.
Yeah.
That's... Before we get on to my next point that I really enjoyed, I did want to bring in a point of criticism with the characters and how they were handled.
Let's go.
Okay.
Hit me, bro. Hit me.
As soon as a character became I like that each of the characters had an arc as a main antagonist. We went from the fascist guy to the mad at the porn star guy.
Yeah.
To the banker, the one with the vest that the lesbian was like, I think he's gay. I remember.
Oh yeah, and
the
then,
one with 7 kids.
and then
the
27
guy.
27 kids.
Me. And then,
Wait.
Hold up.
But yeah, like the
Don't go to
bearded
Idaho.
guy at the end. The beard guy is the main villain at the end.
Yeah.
Just
And then
kidding.
not. Yeah. Well, I liked how each of those characters had an arc. However, my issue was, you know, in like a movie when you're watching a fight scene between one guy, like Jackie Chan versus like a bunch of goons, right? Mm-hmm. And then you notice that like some of the goons are just kind of sitting there waiting for him to be ready to fight him.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it felt like. It felt like there was this cult of personalities, but each of them were waiting their turn.
Instead of like all together at once, like gang.
I mean,
yeah.
I get that the
But, like,
I
at
get
the
that the
same
banker
time-
and then the I'm gonna call him the politician guy because I don't think he was, but like he was giving me the vibe like I'm trying to lead people.
Right.
And then you got the antagonistically, you had the soldier. Eventually, he stepped up, but like it was mainly just for those two to argue. But there were never like all these bad guys.
They weren't like
they kind of waited
I know
their
what
turns.
you- Yeah, it wasn't like a whole like gang up all bad guys at the
Yeah,
same time.
yeah.
But at the same time too, though, like they all came in with different like topics though. Like one got triggered over like the one who was like, oh, what's your husband's name, and then found out that, like she was married to a girl, and he goes, there it is. Like like there were certain things that sparked them to be a douche. It wasn't like take all these people out for this reason, then all of them jumped in.
Fair. I mean, fair enough, but I don't think that fascist guy is a good example because I thought he was being outwardly douchey and like evil to all of them up until that point. It was just that was the one where everyone was like, dude, come on, really?
I mean, yeah, I was just saying, like, I just think in general, like, they all, like, peaked into the villain arc for a different reason because of the different topic that was at hand, or, like, farther down the line, the situation changed because of there's less people, or they find out something new about the circle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, but I do see your point, though. Like, there was always just one bad guy, basically. And then, like, some people would be kind of bad and join in with it, but, like, they would never be, like, two big bad dudes, like, yeah, fuck 'em. You know what I mean?
I think the main exception would be the banker and the fascist guy.
Yeah.
They were pretty back and forth and on the same page from the beginning. But I guess that leads to my actual point of criticism. My point of criticism wasn't necessarily the villains. I thought it was entertaining, and that was fine. If you could look at it like a pacing thing, I guess. But what got me was when it was time for somebody to be killed, and there were a few fake outs with this, but like it always happened like this. Two characters are talking. In the background, you hear the boom.
Yeah, the tick down.
Boom.
Yeah.
But like you're trying to focus on the conversation or like the guy yelling and like the cop like, oh fuck you, you criminal piece of shit, all this and that, like, and you like okay, well it's gonna count down and it's gonna kill this guy. Like it's just like hyping us up to where we're supposed to be listening to him, but he's about to die. It's fine. Mm-hmm. Granted, there were a few fake outs, but they were never in the intense situations. Every time it was an intense situation and it zoomed in on somebody yelling, he was always the one that died. The closest thing was the porn star and the guy. That was the closest example.
That guy lived for a few rounds when he was thinking he was going to get axed off. I think he lives through like 2 or 3 rounds where he kills someone else because he ties like 2 or 3 times with different people and then he lives.
Yeah, and then eventually they're like, yeah, no, this guy's just got to go. Yes, so I agree. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know. I wish it just wasn't like that. Like it felt like the movie had one trick as far as like, how do we make this suspenseful, So
I get what you mean. Like, the suspense wasn't anything crazy, though. Like, honestly, for me, the movie is great because of the conversations everyone has.
No, I agree.
just to see where it goes. Because, like, when you're watching it, you're like, what's going to happen here? What's going on?
I agree.
And then, like, just the different conversations, whether it dives into, like, political things, or it dives into, like, religious things, or it dives into just everyday, like, people opinionated things. And they clash. And there's so many different people, they're clashing, and they're like, I'm voting you because you're gay. I'm voting you because you're an atheist. I'm voting you because, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of different, like conversations, and some of them turn pretty funny. Like, he's like, oh, man, we need to stick together. All these people, they're going to take out all the black guys because they're racist.
Yeah.
Like, there was a lot of clash, and I love that. I think that's what made the movie interesting for me.
I agree.
Not the suspense, per se, because the suspense, like, most of the time I agree with you that, like, you knew who was going to die.
Yeah.
Unless it was just some random in the background that had nothing to do with anything.
Right. And I would argue that that's also not satisfying either in the sense of, like, that's just like a cop-out. Like, hey, you filled out the roster a little bit so you can have a couple of those.
Yeah. I was going to say, I felt like the cast was too big in the beginning because they took out, like, probably 10 to 15 people just at random that had no conversations or inputs to the circle at all.
Hell, there were characters that didn't even talk until they were nominated.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I do agree there that I think that the cast was a little too big. Mm-hmm. But I get that they wanted to do, like, those cop-outs where they could kill people in the background that weren't, like, part of the conversation. Right. And, yeah, I dig that.
So, with a smaller cast, that brings me into a point of criticism. This movie's about an hour and a half long. Mm-hmm. I think it's too long. I don't think this should have been a feature film.
What do you think? Like an hour? Is that what you're thinking?
I think we were talking about that one movie on Shudder where it was like all the webcam, like the hauntings.
Yeah.
Where they bring out the like the ghost or whatever and it haunts and kills everyone through the webcams. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That movie was like an hour flat, pretty much, or something pretty close to it.
So you were like hoping for an hour here?
I knew it wasn't. Don't get me wrong.
I know, but like after watching it, is that
after
what you're-
watching it, I think this is a really great premise. I think it's a premise that just went on too long.
Honestly, I don't really have that many pacing issues with this one. I think like
No, I mean, if you look at the movie minute to minute, yes, every bit of it was intriguing, and I was always like, "What's gonna happen?"
Yeah.
It never lost me in boredom. Don't get me wrong. This isn't a long movie in that sense either. It's just
I just
that-
know what you mean. You think that like it probably could have
I
been a
think the
little bit
premise-
better with a little bit shorter
well,
time run.
like I said, like it felt like they had one trick with killing people. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like if they didn't have to do that so many times, it just would have felt fresh more throughout.
I see what you mean. So like that extra 30 minutes made it lose its magic a little bit.
Maybe not even 30 minutes. I mean, it doesn't have to be 30 minutes. I'm like, even if it was like, oh, it's a 70-minute movie or something like that.
Yeah,
Like,
I know what you mean. No, I meant like cut 30 minutes from the time, like 30, 20 minutes or whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, somewhere in that range. So,
I mean, I kind of agree. But at the end of the day, though, the product that was given, I don't think it dragged on. And I was always interested. So, like, to me, the time run didn't bother me, as per se some movies we've watched in the past. But I do think that, like, if we did cut 20 minutes and still kept a super intriguing story, I think it would have worked better because it would have been like a shorter
yep.
package, you know what I mean? Because I do agree, there is really only one trick they have up the sleeve.
Yeah.
And like that's the only thing that's going to happen throughout the whole movie.
Right.
So why not make it a shorter run? But I digress. I think it was still pretty good.
No, again, an hour and a half is not egregious at all. I mean, it's a film. It's not a super long film. It doesn't overstay
So what you're saying is you don't want a 2-hour movie of this.
of this. No. Oh my God, no. That would be a bad movie.
Yeah, probably. I think
An
it
hour
would
and a
be.
half was, in my opinion, pushing it.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, it's on the precipice of being too much.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, it's not quite there. But it's like you chew on a piece of meat for just a little too long. It's like kind of chewy. Like that's what this is. It still tastes good.
So with that in
kind
mind,
of chewy.
you don't want another movie ever.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm just curious, like with that in mind, if they were to like,
If it was the same plot,
yeah, if they
with
were to
just
make a
different characters,
sequel with different
no,
characters,
I don't
same
want that.
scenario, you don't want that.
I don't want
okay.
that.
I agree.
I
Because
would-
I don't think there'd be a reason to do so.
I need like a Happy Death Day 2 situation. Like I need
Focus on the aliens, the next movie.
I need innovation.
Wouldn't that be interesting? Like they
I'm-
see the aliens and see like why they're studying these people, and then like you can see the conversations of the circle happening, but you see it through the aliens watching, and like they're like reacting or diagnosing things. Wouldn't that be interesting?
I mean, I'd be kind of intrigued.
a lot of people would probably hate it, but I think that it would be a different take.
It would be different,
I don't think you could do a sequel to this because at the end of the day, it'd just be the same thing with different characters.
right?
So
I think with the movie that was set up, I think they set it up for a sequel. But personally, I like our ending better. Like you wake up and they're in the other room.
oh, they're just fist fighting.
Yes, yeah. Like I love, like I do, I love that. And then,
Yeah, I'd be down to watch something like that.
but no, I think
I mean, at the end of the day, though, what did you expect coming into this? So, like, you see Circle, you read the like summary.
Honestly, I was under the assumption that this was going to be more of like, hey, you have to stay in a circle, not your circle. So I thought it was a situation where people could fight each other. But then also, I thought this was going to be a situation almost like the Hunger Games in the sense of like, I thought there'd be distractions and like hazards.
Okay. So
Like-
you thought it was going to be like a battle royale type movie.
Not entirely. I wasn't necessarily leaning towards Battle Royale. More of in the sense of like, okay, well, there's like unhuman amounts of wind. You have to hold on and stay inside the circle.
Okay, so you
Like,
thought it was
just-
going to be like experimental stuff where like
Yes.
random happens and then whoever lives, whoever
yes,
dies, like
yes,
later, see ya.
Yeah, like Darwinism to the max.
Yeah,
You know what
I see what you mean. Yeah.
That's honestly what I thought going in. And I didn't honestly read the description. I was just going off of what you were going off of.
Gotcha.
Because I don't know how to read. So, so that was...
Well, that's two people that don't know how to read that I learned today.
Yeah, so pretty much that's where I was at with that.
With that in mind, were you disappointed with the outcome?
No, I mean I thought this was really cool, but in my head I'm thinking that's how you do a sequel. You've already weeded out who is mentally the best.
Now, physically, who's the
Now
best?
who's physically the best?
Okay, now you gave me another sequel idea.
That's what
That'd
I'm
be
saying.
dope. Yeah.
So
I mean, why aren't we movie writers? What are we doing?
Popcorner Productions, baby. Anyway,
Yeah, if we ever just become like a thing, we just like become like script writers for movies.
hit that like button, guys, and if we get to
Yeah, if we-
1,200 subscribers, we're gonna make a
We'll,
movie.
we'll write scripts based on other movies.
We're gonna make Spider-Man Lotus good.
Oh, we're gonna get sued. I'm rich. Don't worry.
Have you heard? Have you heard about that, by the way?
What?
Do you know Spider-Man Lotus?
No.
You know?
No.
You don't know anything about that?
Nope.
It's a fan movie, okay? But then like there's like some screenshots of text and stuff that comes out that the actor who's they have playing Spider-Man and like the director are like racist. So like
Let's go,
like
dude.
hateful like
Cringe.
yeah, like hateful stuff like
Just being douchebags.
like bad like oh, I can't believe this because of these yeah,
So that we should throw them into the circle.
they'd make it out. That's our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. But no, one of the memes I saw recently was it was like what is your favorite portrayal of Miles Morales, and it showed like the
Oh,
the
no.
Spider-Man PS4. It was like a YouTube like poll. So it was
Okay.
like Spider-Man it was like Miles from the PS4, and then it was Miles from Into the Spider-Verse, and then it said neither, and it was the
Yeah,
picture
yeah,
of the
yeah.
Spider-Man
Yeah.
Lotus.
I knew that's where it was gonna go.
It was so funny.
That's
And,
all I'm saying. Put him in the circle. He's got this.
I mean, I'm dead.
Okay. Since we're talking about this movie, we're both in that situation.
You're
Who's
dead.
coming out on top, me or you?
You're dead, dude.
Oh, I'm dead?
You're dead.
You don't think I'd kill you?
I will throw my shirt at you, and then you'll fall off.
What?
I don't
That's
know.
what you were saying about the fucking banker, dude. You
Yeah,
were like,
I'd take that vest off and just like swing on the people next to me. I don't even care. I know it said not to touch people, but if you just throw something, like that one police officer, he didn't have a gun, but he had his baton. Did you see that?
Huh?
He had his damn baton.
I do know he went for his gun and then it didn't happen.
Yeah, he's
but
like, yeah, he didn't have none. So I would just like throw the baton at somebody, hit him right square in the head, let him fall over. That'd have been funny.
all I'm saying, though, is I think I could beat you. I think I could take you mentally on that circle, bud.
Why didn't anybody sit down? Just like crisscross applesauce.
I don't know, dude.
That's, speaking of like the early couple minutes in there, this movie gives a lot of credit to people figuring out the rules. Of like, they're like, don't close your hands. We're voting with this and that. Like,
That was just for the audience, though. That was definitely just to tell us what's going on.
oh, I know. No, I know that. But like, realistically speaking, I think half the people would have been dead before an actual group of Americans figured it out.
Oh, I see what you mean. You think they figured it out too fast? You
I
thought
think,
that
realistically, I think they figured it out way
way
too
too
fast.
quickly. Yeah.
But I think for the sake of the movie, of course, naturally, yes. It's not an
gonna
actual
say-
point of contention.
Man's complaining about runtime, but then he wants more runtime to see more people die of stupidity.
No.
Actually, but that would cure your too many people problem, because then a lot of them
I think
just-
it would cure both the problems. I mean, less people, less runtime. Because this
There
movie
we
is
go.
about counting down the people, pretty much.
Yeah. Honestly, though, thinking of this movie as a whole, when going into it, I know in the beginning there was a huge cast, but we dwindled faster and faster and faster. Who did you think was going to come out on top?
Who do I think was going to?
Who do you think was going to win be the final person standing? Who did you actually think was going to be that person? Were you banking on pregnant lady, little girl?
I was banking on pregnant lady.
Is that who you were banking on?
I was. I was always convinced that it would come down to the girl and the pregnant lady, but I was like, the pregnant lady's going to step off, or going to go to step off, and then the little girl's just going to do it herself. And I didn't take into account that somebody was lying in a brutal way.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that girl got done dirty. Well, both of them did, but the little girl, man, she got done dirty.
Yeah, she's like, it's for the baby, right?
So,
What's your name?
speaking of names, bro, rip my boy Sean. One guy's like, Steve. You'll always be remembered, Steve. You're a brave guy, Steve. He walks off and they're like, you know his name was Sean. He's like, whatever.
Whatever, he's a hero. It's very funny.
There was a lot of good funny moments.
There was funny little, like, blink and you'll miss it quips like that.
Yeah.
It was funny. What was I going to say? Oh, I know. I know exactly what I was going to say.
Okay, let's hear it.
So, I know I've been semi-negative so far.
Yeah, you have been.
But another thing that I want to bring up that I loved, and this probably did wonders for the the budget of this movie.
Okay.
One location
Yeah.
until the very end.
Honestly, the very end is probably the most disappointing part after like,
Yeah.
the stuff happens, like
Yeah.
when he gets out. Yeah, that part is the only part that I'm like, eh. I mean, I liked up to the end where like he ends up winning and tricks them all, and like you're bamboozled. You're like, huh? But like after that, when he wakes up and then you see the other ships out there, yeah, it's a little weird. But with
I
that
agree.
being like a minute long, it's not that big of a deal.
No, it's not.
But
It's not crazy.
I agree. I do
But,
think that the one location, one room was the move.
I mean, I thought it was really nice. I thought that was fun. I mean, I love that it gave nothing away.
Yeah.
Like there was no background.
was just all
People
black.
disappeared into the black. Like it was really cool.
And even though they like kind of like headed on to like aliens, like people were like, oh man, maybe aliens, and then they like just started believing it was aliens. You were never certain that that's what was going on.
Well, the only reason the only reason I was taking it at face value pretty confidently is that no one doubted it. So, and everyone was leaving the cities.
Yeah, everyone was.
So
Yeah, they were
I
saying
was
they
like,
were leaving. Yeah.
they probably have some good of idea of what's going on.
I do forget that. I forgot that conversation happened with the
Because they
whole,
were
like
like
everyone
and,
leaving.
'cause
Yeah.
then they're like, and then we started running. I was like, well, what would they be running from then?
Yep.
So I was like, okay, yeah, I guess they would probably know.
Yeah.
So I guess that was more of a lore building thing rather than a paranoia statement. So I was like, okay. I was like, all right, that's fine.
I mean, I'm cool with it being aliens, though. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
I
not
mean-
like the aliens ever showed up anyway.
Yeah.
Besides, again, the last minute thing. So before that, it didn't really matter.
Even then, it was just confirmation that there were spaceships.
Yeah.
So no big deal. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed a lot about this movie. But there's just things that are pretty glaring to me. That I don't know. I'm just kind of hit or miss on. So I don't know. Do you have any other major points that you would like to discuss, or?
Honestly, like, not really, because everything that I'm thinking of, we've already kind of talked about. But also at the same point with like budget and stuff, I do like that we didn't really like do CGI stuff most of the time.
Yeah, oh yeah,
And,
there's like I mean, other than like the shock, I'm sure that was probably like a quick little FX thing.
But like aesthetically, I really liked it because, like you were saying, it was like all black, and it really makes you focus on the circles and the people, because the circles are the only thing that's colored in the room,
Right.
besides like the shocker, I guess. But other than that, it's just like the red dots, and you see the people. So, and at the end of the day, I mean, all the people that were in there did a really good job at acting. I don't think there was anyone that like I listened to or heard that did like a terrible job at what they were trying to say or deliver. I think all the actors did a fine job, and that's just like kind of all the inside things of like whether you be talking about set pieces or you be talking about like budgets. I think everything that like goes down to the wire of that, it's really good. There wasn't like a whole lot of score or anything in here. There wasn't a lot of music. I mean, the only thing
No.
you really got was just like the tick down for the.
you got that. There was a few little notes here and there.
Yeah. But for the most part, yeah, I was gonna say there wasn't really, you weren't hearing "Never Gonna Give You Up" as someone's getting shocked. But I guess that's just, I don't know. I'm kind of glad we didn't do not movies, yeah, too any songs. My bad. I think it would have took away the suspense that it was trying to build, and I think that like putting audio and stuff over that. I mean, you had the few moments where like things were ticking down, and it would get a little suspenseful with the
Yeah.
music. But like at the end of the day, it wasn't anything crazy, and nothing that I'd be like, oh, I remember that scene where this song was blaring and it got me hyped. Yeah, most of it was just the audio cue of the ticking down, and then you were like, okay, who's gonna die? What's gonna happen? So
At a quick glance, I could not find a budget
no budget.
for this film.
Okay,
No.
they did it on $0. Good on them.
Yeah, I mean, most of the actors weren't that known. I feel like there was a couple.
There was a few that I
Maybe
like,
you know.
especially the guy at the end who like wins.
Yeah,
that
like,
guy seemed very
So
familiar to me.
familiar. Yeah. We're going to be like, that's actually just some well known actor without makeup.
Can we just talk about like the one scene where like 4 people got shocked at once?
That was kind of crazy. And one of them was the. Soldier guy, right?
Yeah, it was the soldier guy, the beard guy, the girl that was accused of being a porn star, and then
Yeah. No,
is
not
it
the.
the
Oh,
cancer?
the beard guy didn't die though. Not there.
he did. He got shocked in that because it was the beard guy. No, it wasn't. No, it
they,
was.
they tricked him. Remember?
Trying to think of who the guy was then. There was someone in the back. But then wasn't it Cancer Lady too? Wasn't she in that group?
Cancer lady.
Military dude, porn
yeah.
star girl, and then they all got like tied. So then they all just.
Was
got
it the
that.
husband?
Yeah, because the girl ends up living for a while, and then he gets shocked for husband.
No, it wasn't the husband there. No, that was later because that was when he was being like, "Oh, fuck you, you piece of shit." One of the situations we talked about.
All I know is that was interesting because like all four of them got shocked.
I know it was different because that was a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I really like the idea of them trying to like find ways to like get out of it though. Because like in the beginning they were just like, all right, we're just gonna kill all the old people, figure this out.
Yeah.
And then when that ran down, they're like, oh, well now what do we do? So then they started focusing in on like we said, politic opinions or like family opinions if you have kids or like your values and what you do in life and like your career. Like it all came down to like how you live and what you do in your life. And then it ended up just coming down to let's not let the pregnant lady and the little girl get down or they're gonna win. And then it just there was different loops and stuff that they went through.
Yeah.
And like it just felt like it never stopped escalating. Like there was always something coming in.
There was always something, and I like that about the movie. I really do. I think that this movie handles it well. These social dilemmas of these scenarios. One thing I would compare: season 1 of The Walking Dead. Okay?
He always brings this show in every time.
It's on my mind. Season 1 of The Walking Dead. You get everything. You've got the first interactions of human versus human. You've got human versus nature, right? Mm-hmm. And then you've got, like with the pandemic or whatever, epidemic, well, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, human versus human. And both of those are on full display throughout season 1. And, like, of course, naturally, throughout the other seasons, it just gets more long and diluted, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But season 1, as like a 6-episode miniseries,
yeah,
perfect.
Yeah, season 1 was really good. I was going to still watch the show.
Yeah, in the sense of, like, it handles everything so well. I think this, and, like, of course, there's nuance to, like, okay, in The Walking Dead, there's, like, characters that, like, I don't want to live in this world, and they commit suicide.
Yeah.
There's characters that keep their bites a secret. There's morality to that. There's, like, what's more important, saving this person or getting the food or supplies? All of that's on display. Mm-hmm. Do I help the stranger or do I let him die? All of this stuff, it's there, right?
Yeah.
Handle peacefully, handle not. I think this movie is not a parallel to that, but like it runs in parallel with that same process of like, is the bigot worrying about the lesbian or not, or is the black people, and do we discriminate against the guy who can't even speak our language?
Yeah.
And most people agree. Well, not most, but like
at first,
a resounding majority at first agree.
If it wasn't for the one girl, she 100%, well, he 100% would have been done.
Yeah.
And then like the one girl knew that she was going to get zapped out, so you hear her like speak Spanish to him one last time before she gets zapped.
Right.
Remember that? Like she's tough speaking, and then she gets zapped.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. My biggest thing is that like at the end of the day, I loved how like no matter whether you sacrifice yourself to be a good person, or you're a complete douchebag and you lasted a while. It didn't matter how long you lasted in the game. They all just died anyway. It didn't matter.
They did.
So like the morals that you had or like how you acted or how much of a douche you wanted to be or whatever, didn't matter. At the end of the day, you died.
If there was someone that I deemed was more worthy to live than myself, I would probably just kill myself as soon as possible.
That's fair.
Unless I really felt like I wasn't sure they were going to make it. Like, okay, pregnant lady, I'm going to let them live.
Oh, yeah, for sure, yeah. I was going to say, if it came down to like just like me and then a pregnant lady or me and a little girl, I'm like, well, I guess I'm dead. Yeah. Like, I'll kill myself then.
Or you against me, you're dead.
Okay, so here's what would happen in that scenario. Me and you are voting for each other. We got to see what's going down. I mean.
Yeah, and then we tie. What happens then?
I don't know. We never did get that answer. What happens if it was just the two left and they voted for each other? What would happen? Actually, yeah, it did. Well, it was a baby though. Like it wasn't born, so it couldn't vote.
And it couldn't vote back.
Yeah. So like, I'm curious as to what would have happened if they voted like if 1 and 1 and they voted. Like we never got that answer, but
it would be. Well, they talked it out. And that was a loophole I saw in the movie. A minor loophole, but a loophole all the same. So they were putting an emphasis on the fact that if it came down to two people, they would obviously tie because they wouldn't vote for one another.
Yeah.
And then they would both die. That's what they were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like any undisputed ties. Well, no, because when it's a tie, there's a revote, right?
Yeah, there is, yeah.
When a tie happens, one of the people that was tied could just vote for the other, and then the other person, instead of stepping off, which they could, they said that could happen. Instead of stepping off, though, the other person just doesn't have to vote.
Yeah, I was gonna say the one guy literally didn't vote a single time, and he was
Right,
fine. He
yeah.
literally lived up till the end
He,
there,
he was chill. He was chill.
and didn't even speak one word. He was just like, "Yep." If you notice though, one of the ships did the right thing when you saw that kid get together with the rest of the group that are waiting for the final ship. Did you see the one girl that was pregnant that was out there?
Oh, really?
There was a pregnant girl that was in that group.
I didn't even notice that.
I'm like, yo, one of them let her live.
Right. Somebody did it right.
Uh,
That would be so funny if he was just in a group full of pregnant people.
women,
And
yeah.
he was the one that was like, yeah, I guess they didn't have any pregnant people in mind, guys.
Oh man, I loved it actually. Like,
Yeah,
honestly, it was. I can't really say of another movie that is a lot like this. Like
Okay.
as far like in all honesty that I've watched,
Yeah.
I can't think of like another example of something that was like this.
Right.
But
I mean, I really enjoyed the premise. We'll have to look and see if there's any movies that we can find that are similar to this.
yeah, I mean,
Like,
honestly, I love it.
yeah, I mean, it's a cool tone. But with us, we're a little over half an hour. Do we want to go ahead and hit final verdicts?
Yeah, I was gonna say this movie was a short movie. I think we should make.
There's
this
no
kind
point
of,
in
yeah.
making it
Yeah,
two-thirds
I was
of the
gonna
length of
say.
the film.
I think we can make this a short kind of entry here.
I like it
And,
like that.
yeah.
I think it'll be fine.
At the end of the day, I feel like we kind of said most of our opinions on it
Yeah.
anyway, and just kind of talking about how the scenes and how they went and how they were fun. There was a lot of stuff in here.
Yeah.
And I guess I can get into my final verdict first. As a person who's watched this before, I only remembered the ending because the ending was such a shock to me.
Right.
So I'm curious to see what you think in your final verdict about the ending, your official final opinion. But I always thought that the ending was a big shock for me the first time I watched it, and I thought it was a great wrap up there. Like it wasn't something I saw coming, and the whole time I kind of figured the pregnant girl or the little girl was gonna live. Seeing that not happen kind of blew my expectations out of the water. And I was like, right from the get-go, I figured they would have been the main character who lived.
Right.
So, and that is something that I've said already, but I do like that this movie didn't really, whether they be a douche, whether they be a good guy, it doesn't matter. No one was pinned as a main character, and no one was pinned for safety.
Yeah.
No one was. No one at all. Like I said, the only two that you might have guessed is just because one was a kid and one was pregnant.
Right.
That's the only reason you had that emphasis. Yeah, emphasis? That's the one.
Emphasis.
That, like, they would be okay. That's the only reason that you would figure that.
Yeah.
And it's not what happens. And I like that a lot. And with that in mind, with the characters being so solid, and like we said before, there are stereotypes here. But that's fine because there's so many different stereotypes that clash with each other. And whether you like it or not, stereotypical things exist in the real world.
Right.
You'll find these things, unfortunately, in the real world. But,
Go to Walmart.
Oh, you're trash.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, though, like I said, it's really cool to see that some of these people, sacrifice themselves for the greater good. But in the end, it sucks because it didn't matter. It didn't mean anything. And then even the people that were D-bags, I mean, in the end scheme of things, they died, and that's awesome. They didn't get to live. But at the same time, it's about as the same effort as the good guys did. No one came out on top. So, they all dead, deceased.
That's fair.
But with the twist, with all the characters being really interesting and seeing the clashes of conversations being for many, many different things and reasons, and escalating on how we're going to get out of this or what we're going to do to the next time or what we're going to do till we figure out how to get out of this. There were so many things happening, and it was really fast-paced, and I liked it. I do agree, though, with you that I do think it would have been awesome to cut 15, 20 minutes off this.
Yeah.
Make it a shorter thing, but still keep that interesting stuff tied in. I think if they would have somehow cut 15 to 20 minutes off, but still keep that twist and still keep all this interesting stuff, I think you could have just got rid of the extra fodder, the cannon fodder characters that are in the background. They don't matter. You could have went with a lot less fake out deaths like that. You could have cut that out, cut a little bit of time.
It's one of those things that it's not to interrupt you completely,
No,
but
you're good.
it's hard to say we didn't need this when in reality these deaths were happening in the background of important conversation.
Yeah.
But so it would have to do a complete restructuring. I just feel like a little less use of the one trick
And more
Would've
something else.
Well, not even if you're just admit it, you've got the one trick, but just don't use it as many times.
Yeah.
And we won't get used to it.
Don't use it every 5 minutes.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, I got you. Like I said, I liked it. Like I liked like hearing them have like a random conversation, not a random, but like a serious conversation. And then the timer's ticking and they're not finished, so then they just randomly vote some person and
Yeah.
then they die and they just continue talking.
Right.
Like that was cool. And I don't know. I felt like even rewatching this, I didn't remember how it went until the very end, so it was like a fresh watch for me too, for the most part. And I don't know how you felt about it, but I really, really like this movie. And it's not perfect by any means, but like it was enjoyable. It was a faster paced movie. I was never looking at my invisible watch to see what time it was.
Yeah, no.
And I think the aesthetic and landscape of just the one
room.
and I like the colors and the lights that pop out. Really focuses on the characters and the mysterious vibe of it all up until the very end. Awesome. You know what?
You bring up a good point with that, and that's something I will talk about in my final verdict. But continue.
I'm gonna hit it with an 8.
8.
An 8. I think it was a really good movie, especially for a one-off movie that I just randomly watched on Netflix one day. It was really good.
That's fair.
Watching it again, I wasn't disappointed.
Yeah.
I honestly remember liking it, but I still love this movie.
That's
so.
I completely understand.
Let's hear it, man.
I had you pegged as putting it as an 8
Did
in
you?
my head the whole time. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, he's.
You usually have me voted pretty well. And then I always know you usually do a score or 2 scores lower than me every time. Usually. So let's hear it.
Unless it's a movie or like it's like you know what I mean.
Let's go. Let's hear it.
Okay, so this movie, I didn't know anything really about it other than your description going in, like your tagline. I was like, so I was interested. Not what I expected as far as premise goes, but I think that premise would be really well executed in a sequel.
In a sequel. Yeah, I agree.
My ear is ringing. I just stopped hearing out of my right ear. That's cool. It's the dog whistle. But I think that as a sequel would be really good. But as for this movie, I thought the premise didn't justify, as we have both exhaustively talked about, it didn't justify the length.
Mm-hmm.
It was still a short movie, so the pacing never felt like it suffered, and it never felt like there was fluff. It just felt like, I felt like they did it one too many times.
And honestly, though, with it being 1.5 basically hours long,
Yeah.
even though like the one move is kind of like, I get what you mean and like I kind of agree.
Yeah.
It never took a point for me because it
No.
cut at the one. If it would have went an extra 10 minutes longer, I think it might have suffered more for me.
Yeah.
But like at the end of the day, the movie was still short and it didn't get tedious. So like to me, it doesn't bring it down a point at all.
That's fair. I mean, obviously, when I talked like earlier, like I was like, like an hour long flat when comparing it to the one movie, that's a bit exaggerative. Obviously, I think this movie could have been fine at like an 80-minute.
Yeah. Just like an extra 10 minutes cut.
Yeah, 10 minutes cut. And I think that would have done a lot, actually. Realistically speaking, that does a lot to the feel of a movie, and that would require a lot less cutting around. And, of course, I don't know otherwise. But outside of that, I think all of the subject tackled with each of the characters, like the old people first, and then save the women and children, or don't save the gays, or the this or that. I love everything on display. I thought that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, my biggest issue was just the predictability of the villain arc stuff, and then, honestly, the ending I thought could have just been better.
That last minute didn't need to be there, to be honest.
The last minute could have been completely subterfuged by pulling them into a very similar looking room, maybe without the actual circle aesthetic, but just like a
different
dark room.
What if? Okay, so sorry to cut you off, but like I get what you're saying. You did it to me first, but like. So he's on that room, he wins, but then let's say like a tube comes down, pulls him up, and then it's a smaller room, but it's like another circle. They're like going up or something.
Right.
And it's like the winners, like you just see tubes everywhere and it's like pulling them in. Like maybe like all the winners are like attached to the other ships. You just see like, maybe they want to show the ships, right? They zoom out, it shows the ships out there and they're all connected by tubes. And then maybe you see like all the winners come out of the tube up to the next room or something and then they all fight. I don't know. I just thought it'd be something better than just like what we got.
I agree. That's an interesting premise. Like you're leaning in on the physical, like the next challenge thing.
Okay.
My thought would be, I would have loved the twist that no one's dead.
Oh yeah, the thing
Like-
that you came up
like,
with. Yeah, that would be
yes.
cool. Yeah.
If they still wanted to go with the fact of each of the winners, yes, I believe that the physicality or like the whatever of the next competition would have been the great sequel. But I think the better ending would have been everybody was still alive and they're like, you betrayed us all. We're gonna kick the shit out of you.
Well, maybe we mix both of ours together. The winner at the end there, he gets sucked up and you see the tube things, but then the other like losers get spat out outside, and then you see all them conversing, and then them being like, the pregnant lady like wakes up, she's like, huh? And they like look up, and then they're like, wait, you didn't win? And then, you know, wouldn't that, I don't know.
That would be, it would all be very interesting.
I don't know. I think the last minute, though, I agree, is what really kind of hurts it. The ending was kind of lame, but like up until that
But
minute,
I loved the twist.
yeah, that was
I will
great.
say that. Yeah, that was, so as far as like everything in the circle, all great. I love that. So I've covered story, you know, pacing. I love the very personal one environment of everything. You know, like it just stays pretty much there except for once again the end. And I love all that. And ultimately, I think the pacing was my biggest complaint.
Okay.
Small character and plot changes, just bring it down just a bit. It's a 7.
I knew
You
it.
know what I mean?
I
It
knew
is.
it. I knew it.
It is. And
It's always 1 or 2 below me.
I'll say this. It never would have deserved a 6 in my eyes, but it never
Deserved an 8.
It's
Is that what you're saying?
It's never going to say a 7.5.
Okay.
I wouldn't even go 7.5. I firmly believe you won't convince me of anything other than a 7.
Okay, that's fair. Honestly, I'm cool
And,
with that.
and I think that's about, like, I looked at the reviews and I was kind of shocked. I was like, that's kind of weird. Like the 6 something out of 10.
listen.
We both trended higher, but I was like, you know what? That's not too far off, but it's still a little low
harsh.
for me.
It's
a little harsh. So
I mean, I knew you were gonna at least give it a 7 because during the movie there were certain twists and things that even though you thought was a little bit predictable sometimes, there were still things where you you stood up, you're like, what? Like there was a few times where you were like, huh?
well, yeah, no, I mean, like, I like most of that stuff. And one other thing that you said in yours that kind of got me thinking, like, the cinematography in this movie wasn't bad.
Yeah.
You know, like the camera, like when it panned out to show everyone who's left, it was always super, like, informative.
Well, it would always do like the super long span out every like 10 or so minutes, so you would see
How many people are left? Yeah,
like, you know,
it was
getting
a
smaller.
smartly made movie in both, like, the audience knowing what's going on, and also you can tell, like, budgetarily this movie probably didn't cost that much.
Yeah.
So really cool. So I like that.
Good premise.
Yeah, like this. Yeah, like I don't even want to take away from, because like the writing is probably where 90% of the planning of this movie went in.
Yes.
Because like all of the dialogue, all of this different stuff.
That's what kept you interested.
Right, and that was like the best part of the movie. But every other aspect didn't disappoint. Once again, I think the biggest thing for me was the pacing. Like just the premise on its own.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So that's it.
That's it.
7, 8.
Circle. You know.
What's your rating?
Do you think you would come out on top on a circle? Let us know.
I'll come through this camera and kick the shit out of you right now. I swear to fucking God.
You don't have to worry about it because if we were ever in a scenario like this, I'd take him out before he took any of you out. So,
Thank you for watching Popcorn episode 23. Goodbye.
bye.